Hey, we're Cait and Katie from mai.la.
And we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Let's talk about that creative process between the two of you, because you guys make a duo sound so complete that I don't even know how there is no like full band behind it. So take me into the studio and like, what is that creative process between the two of you?
So we work with two other producers too, named, we kind of co-create with them, named Jordan Reyes and Aaron Harmon. Shout out. And it's usually the two of us, or the four of us, just kind of shooting out as much raw content as we can. Just, you know, add this guitar, you know, I kind of feel this here and that here. And then we take it back and we take 2 steps back and strip it down to what you eventually do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, and it's cool because the two of you kind of have this like mentality in the studio of like, try whatever you want to try. Nothing is wrong. Like, so when you guys are creating like that, have you guys had moments, especially for the Blush EP, like moments where you're like, oh, this idea, I want to try it out, and then you test it out and it's like, no, that's not a great idea?
Yeah, literally all the time. Yeah, it's a big like trial and error, but as long as you can emotionally back up the things that you're presenting on the floor in the studio, you know, space, we just lift that up and encourage it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we appreciate the effort.
Right. So as you guys were working on the Blush EP, how did you guys challenge the producers, and then how did the producers challenge you guys?
Oh, man. Working with us is definitely a little bit challenging because we were very vocal in the studio. I mean, like every single thing, it's like, I produce as well, so I'm watching all that's happening, and I'm like, hey, it's more like this, more like that. So I think it's a lot of them being like, hold on, I'm trying something. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But they really push us to something specifically recently is like getting a song to translate to people. So sometimes it's so raw when we write it that it wouldn't necessarily make sense unless we explained it. So they're constantly being like, well, what does that mean? And we're like, okay, maybe that's something I could say a little more clearly.
Right.
So that's been helpful, actually.
Would you say the same for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot to rein myself back. So having someone like guide me through that is really nice.
Yeah. So when you guys were creating the Blush EP, like, do you feel like any one of the 4 or 5 tracks that was on the EP like challenged you the most, or almost didn't even make it into this EP?
Oh yeah, definitely. All You, hands down. All You was a nightmare because we found out in the last, like, let's say the final stretch of getting this song, we're about to send it out. We found out that we had been working with a bass line that was on a whole different groove than the rest of the song. And we were like, what the heck? We totally couldn't figure it out. We almost just deleted it. We were like, it's not going on there. And then we kind of zoomed in. We were like, let's just take a better look at this. The vocals had been like half a millisecond off the whole time. And we'd been sitting here pulling our hair out trying to figure this out. But nobody was like, oh, maybe we should double check to see if it's actually the vocals. Yeah. And it was. So I'm glad it made it, because now it's one of my favorites.
Good thing you're a producer too, like, because it's like, you know, to us, like, we probably wouldn't like see or hear the difference, but like, dang, that's crazy, because I'm sure like once it's out, like you'd be like pulling your hairs out throughout the whole process, and then the song blows up, and it's like you're gonna pull your hairs even more.
And then it would just be like constantly playing over and over again. Every playlist we ever got into, I would know everyone was hearing that. Like, just maddening. Yeah.
So what was the creative process behind Blush? Like, what was the idea behind creating this EP?
Well, we always joke that it's a mixtape for your crush. Like, we wanted to make something that was honest, and you felt it, and it was relatable, I guess, on most to all levels. Yeah. And the reason we kind of put those tape, sequences in, and those are actually real tape. We would cut it to tape and then kind of fade it in with the real track, because we want it to be able to sound like, when you would just kind of have a bad day and you listen to that mixtape for maybe an old crush, and it just brings back too many memories, or maybe it brings back good ones, That's kind of what we were going for. Yeah.
And what about like instrumentation wise? Like, where did you guys feel you challenged yourselves on this EP?
It's a huge mix of a lot of live instrumentation, as well as a lot of experimental production techniques. It was a huge challenge to get those to mesh nicely. Yeah, just going back and forth in that. And it was at a point in our development as a duo where we were really finding our artistry. And we were like really getting into the groove of things and really starting to understand ourselves. So that shows a lot in like the experimental production techniques coming from after the songwriting's part of everything, where it's a little more raw, like heavy instrumentation, that sort of thing, and then blending those two phases of songwriting together, I feel like is where that all comes into play.
Right. And as you mentioned, like you kind of discovered your artist development through this. What was it about this sound that you guys knew this was mai.la?
Oh man, that it made us cry.
Oh,
I think.
wow.
I think there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of like we would be in the studio until like 6 a.m. And when you're leaving something that emotionally powerful, and the sun's coming up, and everyone's, Katie and I would drive home together, obviously, and we'd just sit there and listen to it and just kind of like feel it. It was like, that's right. This is the time, This
That's
is the time.
cool. Because I feel like, with artists, I've heard many times where like they're working on a track or an EP or an album for so long that by the time it's done, it's just whatever to them because like they've been living with it for some time. But it's cool that you guys still get that kind of emotion.
Yeah, we definitely experienced a little bit of that, especially like this particular EP was like 3 years in the making. So many, revisions. But each individual time, there was always something that the only reason we would add something new is because it sparked something inside of us, which reignited our love for the track as they keep developing. Yeah.
Now, I feel like Maybe was the lead track that you guys released for Blush, right? Yeah. Why did you guys feel that was like the perfect track to introduce the world to mai.la?
Oh man, I think it's a mixture of kind of the whole track's about Katie and I's relationship. Is like we kind of encourage each other to be a little crazy, I guess. And I think everyone has that person in their life where you like, it's like when you guys get together, you know what's going down. And we mix with that feeling plus the kind of like wonky guitars. We think that like the kind of like wonkiness meets the cleanness meets like this dark kind of space. It was like, it is in one song kind of the soul of that project, I think.
Yeah. And like as you guys released it, I feel like that's the song that kind of gravitated to a lot of the fans right now. What do you guys think is different about this song compared to the other tracks that you guys have that is grabbing their attention like so quickly?
I think it shows a lot more of our chaotic side. The rest of them, the whole EP is really sweet, really tender, nostalgic, and like kind of cute. This song in particular, I feel like really exhibits, our crazy side, or maybe something a little more rambunctious. I feel like that just catches you like, right in your guts whenever it hits that like chaotic sense where you just want to like, it's good stuff.
So the EP's out now. Like, do you guys see yourselves kind of staying in this lane as far as the sound goes, or do you guys still kind of feel like you're discovering the new sound or the sound of mai.la?
So that's actually a very interesting question. We're working on EP number 2 right now. It's going to be called Do You Feel That? Because we want it to be closer to where we see ourselves going in the future. This one is the perfect, like, when you put your feet in the pool, you get more comfortable, and then you go all the way in, and you were just a whole different experience. That's
so
kind
was
of
that Blush?
Blush is getting the feet in the pool.
Okay.
Yeah. Getting people a little more acquainted with kind of the direction we're going, because, going from kind of SoundCloud, electro-pop into this more avant-garde world, but meets pop. We want people to not be shell-shocked from that. So this next EP is going to be a little more, I'd say clean, but tastefully chaotic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do you feel like because you're going to this direction, do you feel like the writing process lyrically, like it's also changing?
It's gonna keep changing the better we get at writing, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, just the more we delve into it, the more we learn, the more we pick up from other people, the different like paths that we've gone down since we started this project versus where we are now, I feel like that's all just collectively going to come together. It's going to change a lot of things. It's going to make a lot of things better. It's going to have to iron a few things out, but it's all about the journey, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Now, you guys are part of the collective, Odesza's collective. How did Harrison get into this picture, and how did he kind of get introduced to you guys?
Oh man, this is actually like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were making beats in my apartment, as everyone who signed to Foreign Family would probably tell you. We were making beats in our apartment, and we get an email from Odesza, and we're like, what? And they were like, yeah, I'd love to hop on a call. Yeah, I was like, archive. And we were like unmanaged, didn't have a lawyer, didn't have anything. You know, we're like 19, fresh in it. We didn't even think that music was even an option of a career at this point. And we get that email and says, hey, we'd love to hop on a call. And we hop on a call with Harrison. And, you know, we sent him a couple demos, and he listened to them, and we were like, I have no idea what to expect. And he basically said, we're here to help. We love this sound. We love the sound of all these songs. Keep us updated. And then when we were ready, we were like, hey, things have changed a lot. Here's the new stuff. And they loved it even more.
That's crazy.
Like the coolest label ever, by the way. They like in no way try to like control any sort of the creative. They let you go. Yeah, they let you go and they support it. And that's the best.
And I feel like that's so rare today. Like whether you're an independent artist working with a management team or you're an artist working with a label, like I feel like it's hard to have your creativity like 100%. I feel like there's always someone putting in an input.
It's the best feeling in the world to know that your team trusts you. I feel like that's the difference between someone trying to control the creative aspects of your work versus someone who just lets you fly free. It's like they really believe in the project, and you can feel that from them, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, congratulations with the EP. I'm excited to hear what this new creative sound may or may not be. I don't know. We'll see. But to close us off, for those that are not familiar with the two of you, like, what is it about music that made you realize this was your path in life?
Oh, man.
Who's ready for that one?
I don't think anyone's ready for that.
Honestly, it's just the only thing that I have ever known that I can do that will make me feel as fulfilled as I need to feel to keep living. That's what I have to say about that. So emo. It's real though.
Same for you, Cait?
Yeah, I think that's about sums it up. Definitely. I think music is like, it was never not an option.
Yeah.
In at least it was going to be involved in my life in some degree, and this project has made it a reality for, you know, like a living, which is crazy.
Nice. Well, don't stop. Keep doing it. Hopefully a tour soon. Hopefully some performances soon. You guys be sure to check out mai.la. Blush EP is out now, and thanks for watching on Front Row Live.